Good afternoon. This regular council meeting is called to order at 4:01 on February 21st, 2023. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Anderson? Councillor Mafty? Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed and carried. The next item is adoption of the February 9th, 2023 regular minutes. Any errors or omissions?
Yes.
Councillor Hoare?
On page 7, no. It's under committee reports. It's actually your report, Mayor McEwen. The last item, I believe, should read February 15th to 17th, will attend Local Government Leadership Academy Conference in Nanaimo.
That's right, it should. Any other errors or omissions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Councillor Hoare?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson? Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed, and that carries. We have two delegations today. Please limit your delegation to 10 minutes if possible. The first delegation is the West Coast Multiplex Society. Welcome, Samantha.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. Can you hear me over the mic, hopefully?
Turn it on.
There we go. You told me that too. Thank you. We do have a video to start, but I just wanted to, before we do, acknowledge our Indigenous partners and the territories of which the West Coast Multiplex facility will support, which is Heshquit First Nation, Tloquit First Nations, Toquat Nation, Ahousaht, Ucluelet, in the spirit of truth, healing, and reconciliation. And we have a video that we're hoping will work to start out with today.
I grew up always loving hockey. I played a lot of floor hockey when I was a kid. I probably only ice skated maybe 15, 20 times in my life until this guy started playing, so. But I never had the chance to play ice hockey. Always wanted to. How long do you drive for a 1 hour practice?
Roughly 4 hours. Like one of my friends who played this year, he doesn't want to play again because he doesn't want to do the drive anymore, so.
I would just have it dialed. I'd put them in the car. I'd get to Port Alberni.
We went all over. We went to Seabird Island. We went to UBC, Victoria tournaments, Campbell River, wherever we could find them.
It's a lot of driving, and to have the facilities here would be just so amazing.
We hear a lot of people say it's a great place for young families, and then as soon as your kids start to get a little bit older, they start to pursue other recreational activities. It becomes a challenge. You know, we get over 200 days of rain here a year, and I mean, really, really quickly you start to run out of options and run out of things to do.
That's the plight of youth in some of our smaller communities. You know, people, they can't get out, nothing for youth to do or gather.
But it'd be pretty awesome to have a pool. No more driving so long just to get to a pool.
There's not much available to them now. It's something that's sadly needed in this whole district.
It's a real joy to raise kids here, and it's not always easy. There aren't as many amenities as you might like, and I watched a lot of young families move away.
We always play in the rain and all that. And we always have to play in the dark.
It's unbelievable to me that a coast like this of 8,000 people does not have a facility.
I don't want the location that we live in to be the barrier that my kids face with their recreation opportunities and the things that they want to do.
For him to have the ability to do things that he loves in a place that I love and we love, it would be just amazing. You could have a team with all your friends on it too. That would be pretty fun.
I've never been the home team.
I lived here for almost 10 years now, and I can't even think of the number of families that I've known that have already left town.
It's a good education for youth, you know, to expose themselves to other cultures or others, just people who live in a different area than you do. It would be really exciting for everybody to be able to get together and be positive together.
This is an opportunity for us to build our communities and make it much more sustainable and healthy for the long run.
Indigenous communities are supporting this, as well as our non-Indigenous communities. And the multiplex, I believe it's one of those conversation pieces that would actually pull everyone together.
We'll call it a healing center. You know, that's what it is. It's healing, and it provides you health. We need to build pride into every child and human being on the West Coast here.
So if we saved one life, it'd be well worth it.
Thank you so much. So that sort of sets the stage for us, and I don't think we have to convince any of you about the needs and what our communities, all of the communities, 8 communities on the West Coast need. You all ran on very similar platforms to what you wanted to contribute for the communities. And before I started as well, I wanted to introduce who's in front of you. I'm Samantha Hackett. I'm the chair of the West Coast Multiplex Society. The Society is a group of dedicated West Coast locals, all volunteers, that over the past 2 decades have given a lot of their blood, sweat, and tears to helping you all and all of the communities bring this multiplex to reality. Our Ucluelet residents that are on the board include Carrie Ho here, Kiki in the audience, Clint Mack, Dave Toval, and Sean Mills, who are all here. So thanks so much for taking the time to hear us today and to discuss our next steps with this joint community project. It's because of all of you and the past mayors and councils of the District of Ucluelet that have been prioritizing health, mental wellness, and social well-being for the residents of Ucluelet and all of the surrounding communities. With the direction and foresight of the leadership of the municipalities, First Nations, and the ACRD, our 8 West Coast communities have been in pursuit of this shared recreation facility for the West Coast, and this represents really a legacy partnership. It's a really unique MOU between 5 First Nations and 3 non-First Nations communities. I mentioned all of the First Nations communities at the beginning, so Taloquiet, Ahousaht, Heshquiet, Cluthlot, Toquat, but also District of Tofino, District of Ucluelet, and the Alberni-Clackarat Regional District in Area C. The mandate of the Society originates with these 8 communities. The Society was established and continues based on community needs from the elected officials. Over the years, with transitions of leadership, staff, and residents, the Society has and continues to work hard to ensure that the facility will incorporate the needs of all of us and our children and for future generations. Before any of the current board members that are here today, the project had been planned to be phased. But within the last few years of the community engagement, leadership, recommendations, consultations, surveys, etc., the Society is working on the direction of integrating what we used to refer to as 2 phases to bring the phase 2, the pool, into phase 1. So all at once, one facility for the multi-use of an arena and a pool. From the multiplex feasibility studies over the years, past business plans, we know the development of the facility is only feasible with all 8 communities working together, and that it, of course, would add significant to the overall health and wellness of the residents in the area. For those of you that don't know some of the history, the land is confirmed by the ACRD in writing for the location of the multiplex facility, which will be along Airport Road, and the operating dollars are established by the ACRD referendum, which includes 4 communities currently, and it has been identified that TFN would own the facility or sort of own the land based on the land proximity, which would be, of course, great economic and training and employment opportunities for them. With the District of Ucluelet support, we received direction from the West Coast Committee in 2018 for the Society to explore capital fundraising opportunities, and from the ACRD for the capital funding grants, a resolution and letter of support recognizing the importance of expanding recreation opportunities for the communities on the West Coast. So that's just a little bit of the history of where we're at. Taloqueat First Nation continues to lead the capital fundraising grants on behalf of the 8 communities and has applied for government grants. Although so far unsuccessful, we have received positive feedback, and meetings recently with our MLA Josie Osborne and our MP Gord Johns further confirm the support and need for unity to strengthen regional support for future grant applications. So I don't need to convince you that we know the West Coast needs recreation facilities and all will need government funding. Feedback has really highlighted that it's best to submit that one grant application for the region at once, and to be successful that the region needs to prioritize the recreation facilities to coordinate the grant applications and have all partners support the plan, which of course is a very tricky plan to create when the region is comprised of 8 separate communities that all would benefit from many recreational facilities, arena, pools, gyms, fields, all of the opportunities. But this West Coast project, the multiplex, we have been working on for so many years, is shovel ready because of those years of effort. We are in an encouraging position to improve the opportunities for all ages and create a significant gathering space in the region. One of the challenges with the project has been the lack of official comprehensive endorsement, which we look forward to remedying with the motion that was made in August by the District of Ucluelet, which has been started already with working with the ACRD and the West Coast Committee more directly and finalizing an updated detailed MOU. This MOU will reinforce the community leadership endorsement and recognize that the West Coast Multiplex is a priority. It affirms that the Society is acting with both the aforementioned mandate and the direction and understanding that the West Coast Multiplex is a regional priority. It has been discussed and decided previously that this will be outlined in more detail how the facility will be owned and managed going forward. And it's because of all this, all of your past and current endorsement of the West Coast Multiplex project, that it's a regional priority. Specifically, what we're asking for today is really just to reaffirm that support and include the project as a District of Ucluelet priority within your community plan for 2023. You are all the reason and will be the reason that the West Coast Multiplex remains a possibility for our regional area and communities. Our goal is to make sure that we do not lose momentum or duplicate any work that is being done. We look forward to any meaningful dialogue, questions, comments, concerns, to concentrate on how to achieve the objective, as we all know it's a priority. While we anticipate that most of the funds to build the facility will come from those various government grants, the support of the local communities remains as important as ever, and the Society has been tireless working to build that momentum with prospective funders, both public and private. Private specifically are ready to mobilize commitments to the project, and this is due to the tenacious and professional tireless commitment to see the West Coast Multiplex become a reality. It's already safe to say we have opened up conversations that could see well over $10 million to be donated to support the initiative, and we really aren't even at the starting line of those conversations. This renewal for a long-standing project has measurable increase in support from several sources, not to mention the fact that this facility is an excellent candidate for the recently announced $1 billion for the Growing Communities Fund. Alone, the communities, each of the 8 communities, could request about $500,000, but together we could secure $4 million for the whole region. The West Coast Multiplex Society is attentive to the capital campaign to bridge any public funding gaps and then provide strong, diverse community voice and input until the operations. We look forward to your assistance in promoting the regional project at every opportunity. And really, as I've said, we are all volunteers in this project. We're deeply committed to the well-being and vitality of the communities, the Indigenous communities, Ucluelet, Tofino, and the whole region. It's been a steady flow of information and reporting by the Society. It it's our commitment to fulfill the mandate and do so transparently. But please let us know if there's anything that you need from us, anything we can do to support your community efforts, any questions. And we just really thank so much for your continued support of everything the Society has done over the years, and for your expertise moving the project forward over the finish line. I've already sent the invite, but just as the reminder is for all of you, but any other community members listening, is that we hope you're all available to attend on February 28th, the West Coast Multiplex Media event, to announce with us the plan for the combined pool and arena, talking about including education and health uses. Our MP Gord Johns will be speaking, as well as it will include a walk around the land and the facility property, which is just along Airport Road adjacent to the Long Beach Airport. So thank you so much for your time. I think you let me go over 10 minutes. Thank you. And we're here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Samantha. When did the society start? I know it was before I moved here, so it's at least 25 years.
It's been over 20 years, but
last number I heard was about 30 years ago. Dave Taryn started it in the basement. A couple other friends trying to get a hockey rink.
That's right.
Turned into a bigger thing. 2002 was when the society was sort of formed officially by the elected officials. All the 8 communities came together in 2002 and sort of turned that ground roots community dream into something more official.
Excellent. And the referendum that was held, that was for a multiplex. It wasn't just for the ice arena. Is that right?
Yeah. So thankfully, with the timing, even though the society had decided to phase in prior to the referendum never had any specifics of what it was for. It was for recreation. Even it didn't talk about an arena or a pool. It was a recreation facility, and then it did reference the land, like that it was ACRD land. So obviously, it's a referendum held by the ACRD, so it would go through ACRD taxation.
Great. Any questions from council? I think you had a great conversation with School District 70 recently. Is that right?
Yeah, so and that's the other piece. At the announcement, they'll be attending School District 70 on Tuesday, and the education piece that we're talking about when we are referencing it now is because School District 70 is looking at this as a location not specifically for a school, but how can they really make the education on the West Coast a little bit more regional? How can they include all 8 communities and really have it maybe a unique space for education that you can be actually doing some, whether it's recreation and learning, maybe some outdoor learning. The land, if you're not familiar with along Airport Road, is all second growth. It's flat. There's just a lot of opportunities, whether it's for fields or buildings, to be able to use that as a really amazing learning space that is in more of that central location, is why they really identified it as a potential use for school districts specifically to have some sort of education piece for all ages, K to 12.
Great.
Yeah.
No other questions? Thank you for your presentation. Our second delegation today is from the Yuki Skate Park Committee. Welcome.
All right, hello.
All right, hello, I'm Leon Davis, the main coordinator for the skate park expansion. To my left, I have Riley and Ollie, my peers. And as of right now, the skate park has been complete in 2 stages, and we're looking to complete the 3rd stage. So as of right now, we're just looking for approval to become an official committee so we can move forward with this project. Abby, if you have anything you want to add information-wise, and feel free to ask any questions too that you have.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I've been meeting with this group who is looking at our phase 3 to the skateboard project. What they're looking for is endorsement from you in principle to move forward on stage 3. We don't have we do have the old plans, which we will have a look at, and look at updating them, as well as moving forward with putting a bit of a budget plan together for grants, etc. And so at this point in time, they want to start doing some fundraising, so they just want to get a nod from you guys so that you're aware of the project and that we can move forward in principle.
And what would phase 3 consist of?
Phase 3 is, actually, Leon, I'll let you talk about the phase 3.
So phase 3 will be 2 sections. One section will be a 3-foot mini, and then the other section will be a flat ground area. And the goal with the third phase is to have a user-friendly type of section made, whereas the earlier stages, the bowl is quite advanced. So our goal is to make something that was more user-friendly for everybody to use. Yeah.
Councillor Kennington, anything to
the 3-foot mini ramp, is that just sort of completing the sort of half horseshoe that's up at the top? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
And through the mayor, it's the area that we're talking about is what's directly parallel to the roadway right now, where it's the green grass, as it were. So that's the third phase.
And so what do you need from us to become a committee? Maybe I'll ask Mr. Lawrence that question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is, unless this is a committee of council, there's no requirements or endorsement required for council to support a committee in principle. I believe the group is looking for general support for them to move forward, and I'm sure council would love to hear back from them as progress is made on it with what they're doing. But I believe it's more along the lines of, is the space still available to expand the park? And I'm sure they don't want to move forward with fundraising if it can't be placed in the pre-designated area.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Anderson?
Just more of a comment. I was just going to say this is a great idea, and thank you for you guys doing this.
And I heard the word fundraising a couple of times. That's always a good thing. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for the update. That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any unfinished business? No. Then the next item is 7.1, Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 1325-2023, adoption. And our Chief Financial Officer will present this report. Welcome, Ms. Monteith.
Whoops. Thank you, through the mayor. At the last regular council meeting, you gave first, second, and third reading to the Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw, which, as you heard at that time, is a standard bylaw that we have to adopt every year. It's required by our bank and from the Municipal Finance Authority. So you're in a position to adopt that bylaw today. But I just wanted to point out one small little error on my part. On page 19 and 20 of your agenda package, you might notice on the actual bylaw itself, on the footnote, I'm still referring to bylaw number 1301-2022. So it's just the footnote itself. It's not the body of the bylaw. I just wanted to bring it to your attention so that, Mayor, when you come in to sign the adopted bylaw, we will have made that correction for you.
I see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this happens every year because we need to pay bills before property taxes are submitted. Is that correct?
We don't need to do that, but generally the cash flow is that we get most of our tax revenue in May and June. But it's if we carry a line of credit on our checking account, or if we want to have access to very quick money from the Municipal Finance Authority, this is the bylaw that allows us to do that. We haven't had to enact it before.
Thank you. Are there any council questions? Would council like to make a motion? Councillor Anderson?
I would recommend that council adopt District of Ucluelet Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 1325, 2023 as presented.
And a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoare. Further discussion?
Does it have to be a movement or can it be a recommendation in terms of the wording? Does that matter?
I think recommending is okay, as opposed to moving. Is that okay, Mr. Lawrence? Or Mr. Rotenberg?
Madam Mayor, it's a recommendation from staff, but council moves to adopt the resolution as presented or as moved by council. So if you only recommend it, then it's not moved.
Sorry, my bad. I don't want to do it again. Do we have to vote on that then?
No, let's just do a
friendly amendment.
But it wasn't moved to begin with.
Oh God, what have I done?
So why don't you read the motion again?
Okay. I move that council adopt District of Ucluelet Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 1325, 2023 as presented.
I'll second that.
Councillor Mafti. Any further discussion? Thanks for picking that up.
It's all that LGLA training kicking in there.
Already. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? That carries. Thank you, Ms. Monteith. We have 4 report items today. 8.1 Rotary Frisbee Disc Golf Course. Abby Fortune, Director of Parks and Recreation. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Perfect, thank you. Before you have a recommendation to have staff develop a land use agreement.
Can you check that your mic's on, please?
Now it is.
Yes, it is.
Here we go. Good, Joy? Yep. Perfect. Let's try it again. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have a recommendation to have staff develop a land use agreement between the Rotary Club of Ucluelet and the District of Ucluelet for the development of a Frisbee disc golf course on the recommended site on District Lot 281, which is before you there. District staff has undertaken an archaeological and biophysical assessment of the proposed sites. Based on the results of this assessment, no further archaeological work is required, and the proposed activity is not expected to result in any significant adverse effects to the environment. There were some recommendations made from the site with the total report, which the Rotary Club will be required to meet for the development of the Frisbee disc golf course. This amenity would provide Ucluelet with a new activity to enjoy outdoors at a limited cost to taxpayers. Oversight for the build and annual maintenance would be provided by the District of Ucluelet staff, but the Rotary Club will be responsible for the construction of the Frisbee disc golf course and general maintenance of the course. And they're actually here today in support. And so if you have any direct questions for them as well, or any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. It's a very thorough report, so it's great. Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Mafti?
Through the mayor, I'm just curious if there's any estimate as to how many Frisbee golfers might avail themselves of these facilities in a year.
Thousands, but saying that, I will I'll defer to Jeff, who might have a better idea on that one. Jeff, do you just want to come over to the mic?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm representing the Rotary Club of Ucluelet. And to answer Councillor Matafi, question, the numbers are endless, really. The amount of tournaments going around the island and the growing popularity of the sport is hard to measure, but the amount of attraction it's had here in Ucluelet has been substantial. Yeah, a lot of people interested in the course.
And I've been told people travel to Port Alberni just to play this.
That's right. Port Alberni has disc golf at Eco Park right now, and they're just finishing their second one in the, I forget the part of the Port Alberni, but it's a larger 18-hole course there.
Along the river, I think.
Yeah, along the river there, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Any other questions from council? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
As I said, it was a really thorough report, and I see that there is a recommendation.
Got this. I will move that council direct staff to develop a land use agreement between the Rotary Club of Ucluelet and District of Ucluelet for the development of a frisbee disc golf course to be located on the lands having the legal description of PID 009397809, District Lot 281, Clyquet Land District, except Plan VIP 35275, VIP 47109, VIP 48670, VIP S6963, VIP 6 2019, and VIP 62387.
Second.
Mr. Lawrence?
Pardon me, sir. Just within that resolution, it's VIP 5-6, not S. So close.
So close. Yeah, me too. All right. Sorry, brain, long day. Here we go again. Anybody feel like it's February 2nd? I will move that council direct staff to develop a land use agreement between the Rotary Club of Ucluelet and District of Ucluelet for the development of a frisbee disc golf course to be located on the lands having the legal description of PID 009397809, District Lot 281, Clyquet Land District, except Plan VIP 35275, VIP 47109, VIP 48670, VIP 56963, VIP 62019, and VIP 62387.
And I'll second that again.
Any further discussion?
Okay, that's it. Done for the day.
All in favor? None opposed, and that carries. Thank you. I look forward to this.
Me too. Yeah.
8.2, Notice of Land Disposition, West Coast Community Resource Society lease. Again, Ms. Fortune.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you have a recommendation to authorize staff to issue a public notice of property of disposition for 500 Madison Drive to the West Coast Community Resource Society by way of a lease for the term of 3 years from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2026 in the amount of $74,645.04 for 3 years. So that's total, not per. The West Coast Community Resource Society has been operating out of the hub space at the Ucluelet Community Center. As their lease is about to expire on March 31st, a disposition of space is required in order to renew the lease pursuant to Section 26 of the Community Charter. Just so you're aware, currently WCRS has a grant in aid before council for the consideration of $5,000 to go towards a portion of their rent for 2023. Any questions?
Questions for Ms. Fortune? It's a quiet group today. I see that there is a recommendation.
It's got more VIPs.
I'll move that council authorize staff to issue a public notice of property disposition for a portion of Lot A, Plan VIP 569363, District Lot 281, Clayoquot Land District, except Plan VIP, 81535, and more commonly referred to as 500 Madison Drive, to the West Coast Community Resource Society by way of lease for a term of 3 years from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2026, in the amount of $1,935.76 per month between April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024, and $1,974.48 per month between April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, and $2,013.97 per month between April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, plus GST.
I'll second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed, and that carries.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. The third report is 8.3 Development Variance Permit for 1425 Helen Road. This report will be presented by the Director of Community Planning and is provided in response to Council's January 24th, 2023 resolution. Welcome, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and through the mayor. Roughly a month ago, Council saw this application for a variance for some parking spaces and directed staff to investigate using what were the possibilities to find a temporary type of permit for essentially using on-street parking rather than varying forever the parking requirement for the proposed B&B use at the property. And in short, as noted in the report, that it is somewhat uncommon but possible to issue a development variance permit for a limited period of time. And so we have created a draft DVP that would do that. And if this is the direction council wishes to take, it might be best to start by just clarifying the time period. There was some discussion of a couple of years, and so we drafted it to say 2 years, but certainly that is could easily be adjusted. So that might be a point of the council wants to consider. So staff would then need to provide the statutory notification for what the permit and the term would be, and then this would come back at a future council meeting for actually, public input and decision on issuing the permit. Let's see if there's any questions.
Questions? Councillor Kennington, this was your suggestion, I think, at that last council meeting.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, you're good with it. Yeah, I think 2 years is good. That will give the property owner time to save up a little money and be able to create the appropriate parking on the property. I see there's a recommendation. Councillor Anderson.
I move that council direct staff to give notice for public input on development variance permit 2209 to waive the on-site parking requirements for a bed and breakfast use at 1425 Helen Road for a maximum period of 2 years.
Second.
Councillor Kennington seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? And none opposed, so that carries. Thank you. The final report is 8.4 Pacific Rim Housing Development Corporation. This report is provided by our CAO, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before Council is a report regarding the Pacific Rim Housing Development Co-op. The cooperative has been developing business plans and case studies for the development of new employee housing and has made requests of the municipality. At this point in time, the requests include, funding support for it, select council to develop a select committee working with the Pacific Rim Housing Cooperative to identify lands that could be utilized for the project, land servicing costs, tax exemption, and a capital investment that hasn't been identified at this point in time. Within the current strategy for the district of Ucluelet, we have about $1 million within our affordable housing fund, which is partly allocated for the new 5-unit social housing project grant opportunity that is forthcoming. If the grant is successful, there's $330,000 plus another request coming for the lot 13 that's been on the books for a number of years. We anticipate that report coming shortly. We're just waiting for a confirmation letter from BC Housing through the developer, and so that uses up a significant portion of those funds. Staff have also taken a look at proposed lands, and the limited lands that the district have really aren't suitable for this type of development at this point in time. 2 identified parcels were parkland, and a third just behind us here at the water tower where the Frisbee golf course is to be located would require a substantial investment in that property to gain like an access road and then significant servicing because it's going uphill. So it's a very, very challenging piece of property. From there, we don't have a lot of other options within the municipality, as the municipality has very limited land resources. With respect to the select committee, council definitely has an opportunity and an option to consider developing a select committee. Although it is unusual for an organization to request council to consider developing one for a specific purpose that would link directly to an initiative that they're undertaking. So although it's possible, it would be staff's recommendation that if council sees the value of developing a select committee for housing initiatives, that council should be determining what those objectives are and how you would want to achieve them moving forward. So based on the high degree of support needed for this project in its current form, and the unusual request for a select committee, staff is indicating to council in the recommendation that the project is not really in line with the current objectives for the Affordable Housing Fund, and it might not be something that council can support at this time. Be open for questions from council to see where you would like to go. There is another option under the recommendations to develop a select committee that would investigate affordable housing initiatives further along the lines of what staff have been working on and previous councils have been working on, if that was the desire of council.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Questions? Councillor
Through the
Kennington?
mayor. Looking through the report, I noticed some inconsistencies in what was shown by the business plan and what the applicant has provided, which one of them would be in the business plan it says that PRHDC owns the land, and then other language in other reports are saying they're leasing the land. One of the other concerns I have is the images that are being presented to the public show, a family walking through a neighborhood of 2-story homes, but then the actual proposal is for 400 square foot units suitable for one person on one level. So I'm just a little concerned that we don't have everything we need to make that decision at this time, because it's just not consistent.
Councillor Mafty?
I wouldn't directly echo Councillor Kennington's concerns in their specific nature, but I would speak for myself and say that I've had the benefit of hearing from district staff and hearing from the proponent and looking through some of the material, and I feel like there are a lot of questions that I would be curious to get answers to, and I'm wondering if there isn't some benefit in approaching a formal process where the proponent, district staff, member of council can sit down and just sort of clarify what the issues are. So I definitely see that there are some points in favor of the development. I've heard some very compelling and convincing counter arguments, and I think that it's just important, for us to determine if there are like non-starter issues that make it impossible to proceed, or whether there are simply challenges that could be overcome. And the way that I would frame all of that is by saying that I think we can all agree that one of the major challenges our community is facing is housing, and it would certainly behoove us to at least honestly investigate any potentially feasible solution. And so I'd be very reluctant to just walk away from this and say no, I'm not interested, because there are questions that haven't been answered to my satisfaction. I'm wondering if there's a way to move forward where we could set a hard and fairly conservative time limit on how much time and energy we'd go into just assessing what the questions are that we need to answer to move forward, so it doesn't drag on for months and months. Is this something that we could say, okay, we're going to set up a committee and have a 3-week window to provide answers to these specific questions? What are the mechanisms through which we can approach this, and what are the constraints as far as striking a committee?
Is that a question for Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, sorry. Yeah. It started off as a statement that morphed into a question, so you'll have to bear with me.
There's a lot of components to that. So it is up to council to determine how much time staff you would like staff and or council to invest in a third-party project. It does take a significant amount of time commitment that, if it's a priority of council, staff will rejig our schedules and make it happen. The short time window, I would say, it would probably, for the proponent, would be very challenging, and not necessarily fair to the proponent to try to detail out all of the key information that council might be looking for to make those critical decisions. A lot of them, for staff, it's the actual cost of it. Is the project shovel ready? Is the land confirmed? How much is it going to cost to build each individual units? Where are they going to go? A lot of those questions would take significant amount of time and investment into looking forward and determining. So I wouldn't want to set a very, very short window, like a couple of weeks, because it might be unfair to the proponent to try to pull all that information in so quickly, because there's so many moving parts to that. So if council wishes to continue on and engage and work with the proponent on the development of employee housing in some form or not, council can determine to develop a committee. They can indicate to the proponent that you're still interested in the project and look forward to seeing further business plans that detail any specific questions that council may have. And then if there's specific questions that council has, you can provide those to the proponent, and they can work on answering those and bring information back to council, or we can do some sort of hybrid. So we could bring a report back to council to determine how we could do this and how much staff time it would require to help move the project along.
If I may follow up through the mayor, a few of the main issues that I see are simply logistical. So even highlighted in the report that we've received this evening, I mean, the first point is an indication that we may not be able to proceed simply because this would contravene the community charter, whereby, we wouldn't be in a position to support businesses. So it seems to me that there are sort of, these like fundamental yes or no deal breaker questions that probably don't require a tremendous amount of examination to sort of figure out if it's a yes or no, and then there might be other issues too. Like, for example, if this project can only succeed with district land and it's determined that there's no suitable land, then I mean we can support the project, but say, well, like, we can't partner. So I'm sort of at the point where I just want to know if this is something that's even feasible. Like, is it possible or is it just tricky? And I think that going with respect to the proponent, I think going back and forth through district staff where this gets dragged out over 4, 5, 6 meetings, it might be more efficient if, we could sit down and just sort of go through this together and be like, okay, we can address this point this way, we can address this point another way, this is a non-starter, and then that we could revisit this with that information in hand where everyone's looking at the same thing on the same page.
So, is there a way forward? I believe so, but it depends on how much council wants to invest in the project is what it comes down to. So the legal constraints are our legal counsel has indicated that we have to avoid direct support of a business, right, which is in the community charter. The project and how they propose it utilizing a cooperative model could alleviate that, but it all depends on the details of how that co-op model has been formulated, which would require for council and the District of Ucluelet to be intimately engaged in the development and oversight of those legislative or the cooperative model and the bylaws, I would say, because we would need to ensure that there is no direct support to businesses. And right now I believe it's proposed for 11 units. At this point, expandable to, I believe, 40 is a number that comes to mind. So it's a very limited amount of individual units. So if it's structured so that only a select group of businesses that have bought in the initial membership, it could be construed as an assistance to a select group of businesses. If it is open to any business to access those units, then it would be fair and equitable across the municipality so that anybody could access it. So unfortunately, there's no straight answer until we see the document that says, this is how it's set up, here's the details. Then we can send it to our solicitors and say yes or no. But until we actually get the cooperative co-op model, the parameters that they're going to use, we're still in this position where we don't know 100% if it's assistance to business or not. Is there a way around it? I believe so, but it's very tricky to be able to do it. Devil's in the details.
Always. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
Through the mayor, this is a difficult one. I've met with the proponent, and I've looked at the details of this, and especially was speaking with them. It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of parts to it. There's been a lot of benevolence that's gone into the community and helping the economics of the town. There's no question about that. I do like the plan. There's a lot of parts to it that I think there's been a lot of work done on that makes sense. My only issue at this point is we've had a peek at where we're at with the budget so far. We know a little bits and pieces, and we have an idea what we have for affordable housing, and the pickle for me is we have a couple of things for affordable housing that are on that pool, and one of them is supportive housing with the potential CMHC and Lot 13. So I think for the supportive housing, especially for me, is a big item. So I'm conflicted on that. That's difficult for me to sort of relinquish that amount of money in the face of a couple other projects that could fill a need that was identified by the housing needs report. So it's a difficult one.
Thank you, Councillor Hoare.
I love this fence sitting we're doing, right? How long can we sit on the fence? This is a tricky one for me, as it is for everybody else. I understand, as Councillor Anderson mentioned, I mean, our affordable housing pot is not huge and partly committed already. And that makes that tricky. I'm concerned about the legality of this one, as Councillor Mafty brought up. I mean, obviously we need worker housing. That's a no-brainer. But if, you know, as Mr. Lawrence has stated, if it's not set up properly, then we contravene the community charter, and that's a whole can of worms we don't want to get into. I mean, and there are a lot of questions, and I don't know if Councillor Mafty's idea of a, you know, can we just get some answers? But the answers I don't think they're black and white. I'm with Mr. Lawrence on this. There's a whole lot of shades of gray in this, and I think that there needs to be some more work done on it before I can really support it wholeheartedly. Sorry.
Thank you. I would like to see something in writing, a document that we could send to our lawyers to look it over, to make sure that we're not contravening the community charter, and if there was a way around that. So I'm not saying no, but I don't think we need a standing committee exactly. So I'm sort of leaning toward option C, which doesn't rule out the possibility of working with this group, but it's not taking any sort of immediate action until we have more of those answers that we're looking for. Any further discussion?
Through the mayor, I can't get past the numbers here. $595 a square foot, and that's on the Ucluelet taxpayer, and 20% of the sign-ups are from Tofino. So I don't know how we can explain that to the taxpayer, that we would be subsidizing housing for businesses in Tofino with Ucluelet taxpayer money. If this is a regional housing initiative, then it needs to seek regional funding, and the numbers don't add up to me. As a former builder, I don't know what we're building here for $595 a square foot. We could either build twice as many units or build them cheaper. It just none of it adds up to me. I'm sorry.
Any further comments? Does anyone want to take a stab at a motion? No. Well, option C requires no motion, so we can just leave it at that. But Councillor Mafty, go ahead.
Through the mayor, just a question. So at this point, I'd say that I'm speaking for myself. I'm prepared neither to move to strike a committee nor to completely dismiss the matter. I'm wondering what options are within option C that would let us reach out to the proponent and basically ask a few very blunt and specific questions, like how can we move forward with option C? Because I'm very reluctant to move for option C. That it's basically like, well, we're going to walk away from this and do nothing. Like I'd like to see this through at the very least to the point where we can say, look, well, we investigated it, and so if that stops short of a committee, that's fine. But what is the implication if we go with option C to actually solicit information from the proponent and give ourselves a chance to, synthesize that information and consider it? I don't want to just say, oh, we'll deal with this later.
Mr. Lawrence?
Option C, by not actioning anything, leaves it with the proponent to hear what council is saying at the table now, and bring something back that addresses any of the questions or all of the questions that council is discussing amongst the council table. An alternative is that if council had a specific series of questions that they would need answered, a resolution requesting staff to engage with the proponent to answer those specific questions could be developed, and then we just send a letter, an official letter from council to the proponent saying these are the questions, these are the things that we need to understand in greater detail prior to considering whether or not the project is supportable through the municipality, or if there's other things that council needs. So if there's specific actionable questions that council has that you would like to present to the proponent, then we could craft a resolution as such that indicates those. And that way, what that does is it puts it back to the project coordinator, the proponents there, and they would be able to bring back those answers to council as a delegation or through staff in another staff report, and then you can deliberate again on whether or not this is something that garners further consideration or support or not.
Thank you.
Mr. Rodenberg, are you preparing something for us?
Can I, while we're waiting for Mr. Rotenberg, if I, through the mayor, can just, I don't want to directly address the proponent, but out of respect for the fact that they've come here and we've been discussing this, and I've one of my big pushes was for transparency. I'll just clearly state what some of my concerns and questions are. First off, one that we've all addressed, which is just the legality of the proposition. Is this something that we can actually engage in? I definitely have to respect Councillor Kennington's expertise and my own very limited experience. It would be really nice to have a clarification of what the building costs are and how they fit in. And then for me, one of the really big issues that I'd really like to clarify ties in with the final bullet point in the report here regarding the capital investment on behalf of the district. I can see myself easily working around some of the servicing costs, the exemption of taxes, stuff like that. But when it comes to a capital investment, I see this project as being very worthwhile, but in some ways redundant if we already are moving towards affordable housing, emergency housing. I don't think we need to do two of those things at the same time. And so if that capital investment is such that it's going to limit our ability to build housing that's going to be, available to anyone and everyone within the community, that's one of the major questions that I've got at this point. So I'm neither a yes nor a no, but these are questions that I would certainly bring up if the proponent were to come back, and if they can address them, I'd be grateful. Maybe not right now. I don't know if this is an appropriate time. Probably not, but that's where I'm at.
I think Mr. Rotenberg is drafting up a potential motion for us. This is specifically for staff housing, which we aren't developing anywhere else in the district. We are looking at affordable housing, which could potentially be staff housing, of course.
Yeah.
But this is definitely geared towards staff housing, and I believe it's available to any business that takes out a membership. So it's not directed at just specific businesses, it's anyone that takes out a membership.
Through the mayor, I think that's one of the key problems with this is if we're calling it affordable housing, it should be available to all, and this is sort of a private club, and I wonder about whether or not we're legally allowed to do it through the charter. If you look at some of the other places in town that have spent millions of dollars building staff housing, where does that put them, and are they going to come to us and say we'd like some funding too because we're building staff housing, and then we're spending all our affordable housing, which we should be gearing that towards families who may have a job at your business or may have a job at somebody else's business, but it's not specific. And I have a problem with using taxpayer money to fund a private club. And that's essentially what I see here. This isn't affordable housing, this is accommodation, and there's a big difference.
Any other further comments while we're waiting? Oh. Thank you. Would someone like to, Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just, with respect to Mr. Rottenberg, with respect to item number 1, is the project related District of Euclid lawful. I think we need to request the actual cooperative documents that stipulate how the system is going to function, so that we as the municipality can determine whether or not it is compliant with the community charter, rather than asking the proponent to say, is it legal or not? That's for us to determine. So we need to see the documents, the constitution, how it's going to run, in order for us to determine whether or not it is compliant with the community charter.
Does that read okay to you, Mr. Lawrence?
I think it captures most of it, yes.
Just to be crystal clear, like what we're looking at here is taking the cooperative's rules or whatever these underlying documents are and then forwarding them to our lawyers to get a legal opinion. Because this is like the devil really is in the details here.
Would someone like to move this?
I'll move that council direct staff to engage with representatives from the Pacific Rim Housing Development and report back to council on the following questions. Number 1, is the project and related District of Euclid funding request lawful given the cooperative's rules? Number 2, what are the building costs? Number 3, what is the requested District of Euclid capital investment? That's why I paused, yeah. Okay, so that council direct staff to engage with representatives from the Pacific Rim Housing Development Cooperative and report back to council on the following questions. Number 1, is the project and related District of Euclid funding request lawful given the cooperative's rules? Number 2, what are the building costs? Number 3, what is the requested District of Euclid capital investment?
I'll second it.
Further discussion?
Through the mayor, I'd like to see some clarification on lease versus own, because those are two very different things that I'm reading in the same report. Not here in the motion, but the difference in the appendices.
I think this opens it up to just get some further information, and that could be one of the details for sure.
Okay.
We could add it into that, I guess.
If it's, as long as staff are aware that it's a concern.
Further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Good discussion. We have some correspondence items. Oh, is there any notice of motion? No, okay. Correspondence. We have 10.1. This letter relates to the property known as Lot 16 and is a request for council to reconsider its vote made on February 9th, 2023, to reject the application for temporary use permit 23-02 for that property. Since this motion was adopted less than 1 month ago, a council member that voted to reject the application could make a motion to reconsider the vote. This letter does bring up some additional information. It is still for 5 trailers. However, they are offering to place a temporary hydro pole. They've amended the site access and positioning of the trailers, so there will be no clearing. There is a fair bit of new information in here, so would a councillor like to reconsider the vote to reject the application for temporary use permit 23-02?
I will move that.
Councillor Hoare, and it needs to be seconded.
I'll second that.
Councillor Mafty. So that that is now on the floor for discussion. Is that correct, Mr. Rodenberg?
Yeah, would you like me to reproduce the resolution itself? It's actually in your agenda package. So it would be in your agenda package under the minutes on February 9th. I don't have all the pages in front of me, but it would be under the temporary use permits section of those minutes.
I think it was option B to reject the application.
I believe the motion was to accept it, which was then defeated, though, is my recollection of.
No, I think no. It was you
a
that
motion to reject the
Oh, yeah,
application.
okay.
you
Okay.
actually moved option B to reject the application. Yeah.
Yeah, so the language of the motion specifically was the council reject the application for temporary use permit 23-02. So effectively by moving to reconsider, if you were to vote to reconsider at this point, you'd be considering whether or not to reject that motion, to defeat that motion. So that motion would be back before you as if you had never voted on it.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead. This one's a bit confusing. Go ahead.
Through the mayor, if we reconsider it, is it reconsidering it with these changes that they've expressed in this letter? Because
No, I think that has to be brought forward to a future council.
Okay.
Yes.
I can help with this. So effectively, if you move, so we have a motion to reconsider the motion that's already been voted on and accepted. If you were to vote in the affirmative at this point to reconsider it, effectively you would have done the time warp and you were back in that last council meeting and this motion is in front of you again. So that's the motion that you'd be voting on, right?
But with the benefit of this new information?
So with the benefit, you have the new information in front of you. That's why our recommendation today is if you were to decide to determine to now defeat that motion, so the motion to reject is now defeated, we would strongly recommend sending this back and doing notice again. That way members of the public could comment on these new matters. The alternate here, because you have to make this motion to reconsider within 30 days, is you could literally make the motion to reconsider and then you could defer the decision on whether or not to reconsider till the next meeting, and then we would just do notice again, and that thing would be dealt with. You would do the time warp and you push the time warp further forward.
Okay, so the motion right now is to reconsider the vote. That's the motion, to reconsider the vote to reject the application. And we've had a mover and a seconder, so we vote on that one. So all in favor of to reconsider.
Wait, can we discuss, though?
I think we have to make the motion to reconsider before we discuss.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you can certainly discuss whether you would like to reconsider this or not.
Where we could reject it again if we so desired.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So let's.
Okay, so all in favor?
It's just a jump to the left.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? And none opposed. So that carries.
Okay, so now we did the jump to the left and the step to the right, and we are reconsidering the temporary use permit.
Or we refer it to the next meeting. So does that need to be a motion to refer that?
So,
Back.
would you like me to put the motion up in front of you so you see what it is you're
Please.
reconsidering? Let me type this thing up.
Just one other point is you're reconsidering the entire report and the motion, right? So council has 3 options, right? Do nothing. You've decided, no, we're going to reconsider. So now you can reconsider and you can continue on with the motion. You can re-adopt it. And after having that discussion, you can push this to another meeting and say, bring it back with the new information, or you can make another decision, right, based on the previous report and the new information that you have, because you have held your public input and engagement session. That's done. So you could move forward with that as well. So there's those 3 options. As Mr. Rottenberg has indicated, it's good to re-engage with the public if you're reconsidering it based on the new information, because there hasn't been that public input on that new information. So it would be a very similar report that would just return back to council.
I do like the idea of involving the public again with this new information.
It'll be a different set of neighbors that would want to speak up potentially.
Potentially different neighbors because they've moved the location. Yeah.
My decision last time was based on the feedback that we got from the public, and so this is one where I'd say if we're going to reconsider this, then it absolutely should go back to the public, because I don't have any, I can't imagine that I would receive feedback and then be like, no, I totally disagree with what the public feels. So yeah, I think we should open it back up and see if people are satisfied with this. Can we share this information with the public and let them know that this is what's on the table?
The information is already out there,
Okay.
because it's on the public agenda, so therefore it's already been shared with the public. Now that if council is reconsidering it and just deferring this to the next meeting for reconsideration, then we would proceed on that basis to gather additional public input on it, and then council can weigh in based on the new information provided by the owners, as well as any concerns that residents may bring forward.
So those are the 2 options. So option A is to defer reconsideration to the next regular council meeting, and that gives the public more opportunity to have this new information.
So let me be clear too. At this point, you have a motion on the table. You've brought it back. You're back in time. You can defer this motion that council reject the application for temporary use permit 2023-02 to the next council meeting if you'd like.
Yes.
So these are conjunctive. They're not, these are attached to each other, these 2 motions. That council defer reconsideration of the following motion, or, sorry, this is my, let's do this. Consideration of the following motion to the next regular council meeting.
So that has to be read together.
And this is going to let us solicit and consider public input before making this decision at the next meeting.
Yeah, so the plan would be that we would do notice all over again. And then people would come up, they'd give their public, they'd make their statements, there'd be an opportunity to comment, and then we'd have to explain at that, or the mayor would have to explain at that point. We actually have a motion on the floor, and that motion today is this. And folks would effectively be able to comment on whether you should reject it or not, or if you should take it in a different direction. So it'd all be bundled up into one package.
Or we can defeat the bottom option.
Yeah, or it's on the floor and you can make your decision now.
I'm just curious to ask the other councillors and mayor. I have to give the proponent credit. I mean, they've come back and they've basically like hit every single point. I feel like this is a weird letter. It's simultaneously very conciliatory, and then I kind of don't like this sort of like implied threat where it's like, if you don't do this for us, it's going to be more expensive. And it's like, well, like, we're not here to facilitate your staff housing needs. But then I also can't help but recall the question I asked of staff last time, where if this was a private, individual, it's like I don't know. I see it both ways. Does this letter change anyone's mind? Does anyone think that they might vote differently?
It did change my mind.
It changed my mind.
Okay.
Ditto.
Okay.
I think they addressed all the concerns.
Yeah.
Everything's brought back to exactly what I said. Why didn't they do this in the first place? There's already construction happening there. There's already noise. There's already power. There's already facilities. It's closer to the road. It's I don't think it's going to be a material change for any of the neighbors. So I'm confident that if it comes back, that it makes sense, because there's we have to do something, and this is. I just think they answered all our concerns, or mine at least.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree. So, Mr. Rotenberg, if we vote on that second motion, because it's back on the table,
And defeat it.
and defeat it, then we can go to the first motion.
Yes, that's my understanding, that you will have wiped the slate clean. There would have been a motion, it was moved and seconded, and then if it was defeated, then that motion would have been defeated.
Okay, so let's do that. I will move that council reject the application for temporary use permit 23-02.
So that motion is already on the table. That's what's very strange about this, right? Is you have gone back to that point in time.
Oh, so we're
just before the
voting.
vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so now we have to vote.
The jump to the left,
correct.
but not
Yes.
the step
Wait,
to the
wait,
right.
but
Okay, I got this.
I still want public input, though. I don't want to make the decision for.
No, we're gonna.
No.
Okay, I just want it to be totally clear. This isn't one of those like, what did I just do moments. Okay.
You wanted public input on whether or not to reject.
No. We
No.
can do
No,
that.
no.
I just don't want to say yes to the letter without giving the public a chance to be like, okay, this is more amenable to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That helps me quite a bit. The idea here is that we would re-give notice as if it's a fresh application.
Yes.
Except we would attach this letter to it as well.
Yes.
Because the application will have changed, and I believe the terms of the permit, and maybe the planning department can speak to this, but I believe that some of the subjects, the conditions of the permit will have changed as well.
If we're going back in time, so I got to put the condition on it. If council votes such, yes, if we're giving notice again and bringing it back, we would look at the conditions and see, because we have the draft temporary use permit there, and make sure they match up with, like, they have a new location. We'd have the right map in there, so that the notice that went out to the public would show what is the current proposal from the applicant. That's, I think, the approach that we would take. We try to make it clear and not muddy the waters with all the reconsideration.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is that council reject the application for temporary use permit 23-02. All in favor? All. What?
No,
right?
Not.
No, we need
No,
to defeat
we need to
this
defeat
motion
it.
to go
We need
back.
to defeat it.
I thought we were voting to defeat it.
No, I just realized that was
I'm
People are going to
like-
lose faith in this. We're doing it. Okay.
Every head up here has exploded about 6 times.
Right. All right.
Benny Hill music.
Let's try that again. All in favor? Keep your hands down. Any opposed? Excellent. Okay. We have defeated the rejection of the application.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I have a question for Mr. Rotenberg through the mayor. So, because council is reconsidering the report with the temporary use permit attached to it with new conditions, would it not be appropriate for council to recommend staff to update the temporary use permit with new provisions and bring it back to council for consideration at the next meeting? Otherwise, council is reconsidering the temporary use permit with the existing conditions, and then...
So I just want to be clear, council did not reconsider the temporary use permit. They reconsidered their vote to reject that permit with the terms that it had. We have a new permit in theory coming, and new notice in theory going out. So you can receive...
So that motion would be, sorry, through the mayor to Mr. Rotenberg, that motion to direct staff to give notice of something might be sort of belt and suspenders, that this essentially now is unfinished business, that there was an application, there was a motion that was rejected.
There you go.
I'm sorry, the motion to reject was defeated, is where we're at in time. It's sort of like next, so that it wouldn't, I suppose, hurt to have a motion, but I don't think it's
just an operational procedure.
Yeah, and I guess then we might need to have a motion during the next meeting after this new information is that the revised permit be included, or that council include the revised aspects to the permit based on the applicant's new provisions.
Through the mayor, I'm not sure that's necessary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is a very novel point to be at within a council meeting, but I think our standard sort of practice in the district is quite efficient in that we tend to draft the permit and do the notice and bring it to council when the notice has already been done. So I think that we have the letter, we have the intent. I think where this is going, and could bring this forward in a revised format. I don't know that we need a motion, but again, sort of belt and suspenders. That's the intent. It wouldn't hurt to clarify it with a motion of council.
I think we're done with this one.
I think we're overdone with this one.
What happened?
So it remains unfinished business as it stands.
It will come to us in our next council meeting. Okay. Does anyone want to bring forward any of the other items of correspondence? There's input request for the Blue Economy Regulatory Review, and there's a Climate Connect gathering through Island Health. Information items. We have the Forest Enhancement Society letter, and we have a resolution tracker. Anyone have any questions about the resolution tracker? I have a couple of comments. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one down on Appendix A is the Bay Street speed bumps. Apparently there was another close call late last week. A child almost got hit by a car on Bay Street because cars just careened down that hill. So I see that it is going to be in a report in the first quarter. Does that mean we're waiting a couple of more months, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, our operations are trying to pull together the existing projects right now. So this was on their agenda for realignment because they were looking at the previous motion of council to relocate the crosswalk, I believe, and that's running into some more challenges. So they have our director of operations is looking at an alternative solution for that, and how we would bring speed bumps into there, or traffic calming access or measures into that area, as well as how it aligns with the existing crosswalk into the park, Edna Bachelor Park, because right now the crosswalk enters into really the driveway and it needs to move. So that realignment is what we're working on, and making sure that we have all the bits and pieces there for you. So it's forthcoming, but it's in competition with the projects that are already on the table.
Okay, thank you. I see that we're touring the Edna Bachelor Park on Thursday morning, so that'll be an opportunity to take a look at that whole area there. Under the Tribal Guardian program, under comments it says, awaiting correspondence from Taloquiet administration. Do we know if that means they got the money and we're just waiting for a report? Miss Monteith, maybe? I just don't know what awaiting correspondence from them means. Are they...
We would need a request from them to issue a check. We just can't write a check. We need some documentation to be able to do it. And we're still waiting on that from the Taloquiet government. So we're kind of sitting there with the money, and we're happy to pay it to them, but we have not received the documentation requesting it.
And do they know that we're waiting for that?
Yes.
Okay, because that was supposed to be money used this summer to...
Correct.
To educate campers.
Yeah, to do enforcement in the backcountry, yes.
Yeah,
correct.
like last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And the alternate appointment to the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust, is that for council or is that for just a person in the community? Because I see it says it has been advertised and the closing date is March 3rd.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do that.
Yeah, I'm just asking Mr. Rotenberg.
CBT requires us to do an open process regardless of whether it's a council member or not. Historically, it was a council member, right? Councillor Cole was the alternate. So we're still receiving applications. Those applications could be dealt with in closed session. And then there would be a rise and report that comes out after that. So, applications are due by March 3rd.
Does that mean that I have to apply?
Yeah, you'd have to send in an application and just follow the same process.
Okay.
So I think that applications can be very simple.
Okay.
In the past, we have simply received an email saying, I am interested in applying to serve on this board as the alternate director, and those applications were considered by council.
Okay.
Okay, you have till March 3rd.
Just hope they don't watch this.
Yeah, can I just say it right now? Well, I said that like a month ago. So that's do I have to email it or can I just say it?
I think it has to be in writing.
Writing, as it were.
I just recommend sending myself
Okay.
an email or
Okay, all right, I'll do that.
The email address on our website. That way we have a record of it.
For sure.
And I see it's tomorrow that the Girl Guides blue lights are going to be up at the junction. Correct? February 22nd, it says. Awesome. That was it for my questions. Nobody else has any? Nope. This is just for information. Okay. Under Mayor's announcements, the District Public Works Department will be starting its annual water flushing system on March 2nd with an anticipated completion date of May 11th. The system flushing helps to reduce the amount of manganese within our water distribution lines and helps reduce the likelihood of brown water events throughout the year. This year's program is less intensive than last year, which we hope will lessen the impact to residents and businesses. Our Public Works team has also built into the flushing program additional time to help reduce the changes in the flushing program, the volume I assume that means, which was challenging to manage last year. Thank you for your patience and understanding while we undertake this critical work. And there will be advertised in the paper a schedule of what zones are being flushed when, so residents and businesses can be forewarned about that. Council committee reports. Councillor Anderson.
The only thing I have to report is I signed up for that social procurement initiative workshop, and I was accepted into that. So
That's April 12th?
I think so. It's the same day as the
Barclay Community Forest Tour.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see what happens there.
And you weren't just at a really wonderful conference?
Well, yeah. So
hint, hint.
I was just going to get to that. That's so funny you say that. The LGLA, what a great time. No, that was actually going into it. I thought, I've been to a lot of conferences. It was my previous life, and I thought, okay, they're long. It's one long day and two shorter days. But it was actually really enlightening for me. I actually really enjoyed it. It was literally every question that's been on my mind, and I've been somewhat anxious about being on council, and it was I thought it was great, and we learned a lot about like procedural things, planning, legal, and there was a lot of things in the back of my head that I've been unsure of. And I did notice that there's some municipalities do things slightly different, and that's okay. But you kind of get the idea of the framework and the legality of it, and you understand it. So for me, I felt great, and there was some team building there. We had a dinner out together, and we all got to be together. So that was fun too. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself. I thought that was worthwhile. So thank you for that.
I'm glad you remembered it.
Belt and suspenders.
Councillor Hoare.
I think the mayor's sassy today, and I want that in the minutes. Yeah, LGLA was really interesting. We had a great keynote by Andrea Reimer, who was a many times councillor in the city of Vancouver, and I know that my fellow councillors heard this. To have the courage to say things aloud was part of her message, and to be bold. So I'm just going to reiterate that. And there were some great panel discussions. I know we all learned a lot from those, which is, it's fabulous when other people that have been in chairs in various municipalities get up and talk about difficulties and things. And given that we had a wonderful discussion today, my other little takeaway from Mayor Tate from Souk was the share the air when you're having big discussions. So no mic hogging. I mean, I say that as somebody who runs karaoke, and I'm a total mic hog, so you guys might have to throw things at me. It was a great conference, and I'm really glad because we all got to know each other a little bit better. So that is never a bad thing. And on another note, I was going to point out that the blue lights are tomorrow. But the other thing that is happening tomorrow, and everybody better check their closet for a pink shirt. Tomorrow is Pink Shirt Day. So it is all about spreading kindness and stopping hate. That's the, go-to phrase. So find your hot pink, find your pale pink, I believe Sean somewhere, my partner Sean, has a shirt somewhere that says "Real men wear pink," and he would wear it to all the poker games because all the other guys would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're wearing pink." So I just want to encourage everybody out there to find a pink shirt in their closet, and if you don't own one, slap some paint on yourself. I don't know, wrap yourself in some, hot pink duct tape, whatever. I'll be wearing pink at work tomorrow.
Does pink lipstick count?
Well, they call it Pink Shirt Day, though.
What if it's on your collar?
Well, if it's on your collar, maybe. We'll have to check on the definitions.
Great, thank you, Councillor Hoare. Councillor Kennington.
I guess I'll throw in my 2 cents on the LGLA. One of the things that struck me was the speech where they talked about how being a councillor, it's like being in a room full of ping pong balls, like thousands of them, and each one of those is a hot issue for someone, and that it's okay to just pick 3 and focus on those and do your best to listen on the other items, but it is okay to focus on your priorities as a councillor. And it was also nice to hear that other people are scared of being councillor because of the public's reaction to you. There were some pretty harrowing stories up there that I found quite shocking. So it's nice to know other people are scared, like I'm scared. Those were my 2 big takeaways.
Thank you. Councillor Mafty.
Well, I too attended the LGLA conference, and I also found it very worthwhile. And in addition to the sort of team building benefits that I greatly enjoyed, the 2 points that really struck me, one was just a big picture sort of overview of how different the municipalities on the island and BC are. I think a lot of the issues that in my head always come up when I'm talking to people in Ucluelet, for another community, they might not even be on the radar. Like it was really funny hearing how, some communities are like, oh, it'd be great to drum up more tourism, and how are we going to attract people? And so the challenges that we face are unique. And I think that's a good reason for us to be creative and to try to come up with unique solutions to a lot of the problems. And then the other thing that really struck me was how, I don't want to say how easy we have it, but how nice it is to have a small team and work in a small community, and hearing from larger communities with huge councils and massive infrastructure and huge departments, and the fact that we can all be in the same room, and even some of the discussions that we had tonight where it's like, okay, well, what are the implications? Everyone knows what we're talking about when we're talking about this house or that house or this street or the lights at the skate park, and I like that. I think to a certain extent it bakes in a lot of efficiency. I feel like we're perhaps better able than larger communities to make informed decisions quickly, and I think that's an encouraging thing.
That's a good point, actually. Never looked at it that way.
You sound surprised.
I've just never thought of it that way. Thank you. I had a call with our CAO and our MLA Josie Osborne on February 10th regarding the BC Building Stronger Communities with $1 billion Growing Communities Fund. And that is a fund that is going to be distributed to BC communities. No application is required. It's some sort of formula based on population. And it looks like we'll receive somewhere in the region of $1 million by the end of March. And it's up to us what we want to do with that. So that was a great announcement. I had 2 other really great announcements on Thursday while I was at the LGLA conference. First of all, our Larch Road multi-use path was approved, the grant. So that is going to be going ahead. And there was a lot of active transportation grants that were authorized, and luckily we were one of them, so that was good news. And she also let me know that the ACRD were finally successful in applying for the BC Active Transportation Grant Program to finish the bike path through the park. So that was in the to the tune of $500,000. So it's not the whole amount that the ACRD needs, but they already have some ICE-T money, I believe, set aside for that. And there is another smaller grant that they can use to get that project done. And it has to be completed by March 31st, 2025, but I'm sure they're anxious to get going on that more quickly than that. I also had a Zoom call on February 10th with Island Health, and it was a lot of statistics and nothing surprising that they're overworked and underpaid. But the capacity really did surprise me. Port Alberni Hospital is at 100% capacity as of February 10th when I was on that call. Tofino's at 70% capacity, and the Nanaimo Hospital is at 113% capacity. So lots of capacities there. So LGLA, I enjoyed the session on the codes of conduct, and just listening to some of those panel discussions sort of brought home why we do need a code of conduct. So that was great to kind of tie those two together. Excuse me. And then we had a session by Gordon McIntosh on roles and responsibilities, and he's the one that's doing our strategic planning at the beginning of March. So I introduced myself to him. Excuse me. Thursday, there was a session on BC assessment, another one on the Municipal Finance Authority, and another one on asset management. Friday, there was a session on BC Transit. I made sure to grab his card before he left the room. A session from ICE-T, just giving us an update. A session from Civic Info about all the election stats, which was really interesting. Session on from Municipal Insurance Authority, and a really good session on communication strategies with Jan Enns. I've heard her speak quite a number of times, and she's really entertaining, and she is like a keynote speaker, and it was all about controlling your social media communications. So yeah, good information. And I think that's it for me. Any questions for me? Okay.
I thought it was crazy with the ICE-T guy, how little money goes into the coastal region compared to the interior. That blew my mind. That was shocking.
Yeah, and they're going after a new funding model, which I think I mentioned last time I attended their meeting, that they had an initial intake of many millions of dollars, which is now whittled down, and now they're asking for many more millions of dollars, but they're going to invest it and just spend the interest that accrues on that money. So different funding model altogether.
Was that the one that you guys went to, that when it was concurrent? We went over to the other one and we had to sit in.
ICE-T it was Friday morning.
So it was the planning one was the one that we went to, and we went to a separate one. I can't remember what that was.
I believe. Wasn't it asset management?
Thought we were all there.
Yeah, we were all at the ICE-T one. Yeah.
Right, but then there was a concurrent one that you guys went to.
Oh, the emergency management one, which has new legislation, which is interesting.
We missed that.
Yeah, that was when we were attending.
So maybe I don't remember. I don't know.
Uh-oh. Okay, question period. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions and provide comments on items that have been addressed on today's agenda. Items not related to today's agenda will not be heard. Are there any questions from our audience? Would you like to go over to the mic? Yeah, because we're on Zoom, so nobody will hear you if you're not at the mic. And just identify yourself, please.
Hello, Nora O'Malley, Westerly News. About the Pac Rim housing, Marilyn, maybe you were on council when the Seaview housing was initiated by the district, and I've always kind of looked at the Pac Rim housing as kind of a similar project. So what is your, can you compare those two, and maybe that's an option or path that they could go down?
The Pac Rim housing is mirroring the Seaview Seniors Housing Committee, for sure. The Seaview Seniors Housing Committee was before I was on council, but it was a similar situation. The district gave them land, and for like $1 a year lease or something like that. And but I don't know what the details were. If there was any cash injection, I have no idea. I know. Well, I know Randy would probably have some of that information because he would have been on council at that time.
But it was legal, is what I was kind of looking like. If that was a legal partnership, what would be the difference between the district partnering with Pac Rim and giving them land?
The legality we're looking at is whether we're not allowed to support specific businesses, and when it comes to seniors housing, we're not supporting specific businesses. We're supporting seniors.
Seaview Housing, you're supporting Seaview Housing.
We're supporting seniors, not businesses that are trying to find staff accommodation. It's apples and oranges. That's the legal part that we're looking into.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Talk to Mr. Lawrence afterwards. Perfect. Good idea. Any other questions from the audience? Mr. Rotenberg, any questions by Zoom or telephone?
No hands are up on Zoom at this point in time.
And have we received any questions via email to communityinput@ucluelet.ca?
No, it does not look like we have any questions. Although it looks like someone's trying to sell me something.
All right, then. I'll leave you to that sales call, and I'll adjourn this meeting at 5:52.